You felt that shift, didn't you? That moment when something inside you just died. Not the tragic kind of death. No, this was different. This was the death of the fool who kept giving chances. The death of the idiot who thought loyalty meant something. They broke you, didn't they? Shattered you into pieces so small you thought you'd never come back. But here's the twisted part. You did come back. Except now, you're not the same person. You're colder, sharper, deadlier. They thought they buried you. Thought they could throw dirt on your name, spit on your dreams, and walk away laughing while you choked on their betrayal. They celebrated at your funeral while you were still breathing. But what they didn't realize, what they couldn't possibly understand, is that they weren't ending you. They were creating something far more dangerous. You remember that day, don't you? The day everything changed. The day you realized the game was rigged and you'd been playing by rules that only applied to you. Everyone else was cheating, lying, manipulating, and you were the sucker trying to do things the right way. How'd that work out for you? Let me guess. You got stabbed in the back so many times you started to think your spine was a knife rack. The people you trusted most became your greatest tormentors. That friend who knew all your secrets, they weaponized every single one. That partner who promised forever, they didn't even make it to Tuesday. That family member who was supposed to have your back, turns out they were too busy sharpening the blade. And the best part? They all acted like you were the problem. Like you were too sensitive, too emotional, too much. They gaslit you into thinking your pain wasn't real, made you question your own reality, made you apologize for their cruelty. And you did it. You actually said sorry for bleeding on their knife. You dimmed your light so they could feel brighter. You made yourself smaller so they could feel bigger. You swallowed your voice so they could speak louder. But something happens when you hit rock bottom in the darkness. Your eyes adjust. You start seeing things you couldn't see before. The masks slip. The illusions crack. And suddenly, you realize the whole world is a stage full of actors pretending to be something they're not. Everyone's wearing a costume. Everyone's reading from a script. And the ones who smiled in your face? They had the ugliest masks of all. You see it now, don't you? How they used your kindness like a weapon against you. How they exploited your empathy, milked your generosity, and fed off your hope like parasites. They needed you weak. They needed you broken. They needed you to believe you were nothing without them. Because if you ever realized your power, if you ever stopped playing their game, they'd lose their favorite punching bag. That's when it clicked. That moment of crystalline clarity when the fog lifted and you saw the battlefield for what it really was. You weren't in a community, you were in a war zone. And you'd been fighting with your hands tied behind your back while everyone else had assault rifles. The rules? They were chains. The morals? They were shackles. And you wore them proudly while they shot you point blank. The rage came slowly at first, like ice forming over a lake. One molecule at a time. One realization freezing into the next. They lied. They used you. They threw you away. They laughed. And the rage crystallized into something beautiful and terrible. A cold, calculated fury that doesn't explode. It doesn't scream. It doesn't break things. No, this rage is patient. This rage plans. This rage remembers every single detail of every single betrayal and files it away for later use. You stopped crying, didn't you? Not because the pain went away, but because tears became obsolete. What's the point of crying over people who celebrated your suffering? What's the point of mourning relationships that were built on lies? What's the point of grief when you're too busy plotting your resurrection? They wanted you gone. Fine, you'll disappear. But not in the way they expected. You won't fade into obscurity. You won't shrink into irrelevance. You'll vanish into the shadows and become something they can't comprehend. Something they can't control. Something they'll never see coming until it's already destroyed everything they thought they knew about you. This is where your villain arc begins. Not because you're evil, but because you're done pretending to be a saint in a world that crucifies saints for entertainment. You're done being the hero in other people's stories while they write you as the comic relief. You're done sacrificing yourself on altars built by people who wouldn't piss on you if you were on fire. The cold heart isn't a curse, it's armor. It's the shield you forge from their betrayal. It's the weapon you craft from their cruelty. Every lie they told became steel. Every time they abandoned you became iron. Every moment they made you feel worthless became titanium. And now you're standing here, encased in metal, so cold it burns to touch, so strong it can't be broken, so sharp it cuts through their delusions like butter. But here's what they don't understand about cold hearts. They're not dead, they're not empty, they're not incapable of feeling, they're just selective, surgical, precise. A cold heart doesn't waste energy on people who don't deserve it. A cold heart doesn't bleed for those who'd sell your blood for profit. A cold heart protects what matters and obliterates what doesn't. You're not becoming heartless, you're becoming smart. You're not turning into a monster. You're recognizing the monsters who were already there. You're not losing your humanity, you're reclaiming it from the people who tried to steal it. And that terrifies them. Because a person with nothing left to lose and everything to prove, that's the most dangerous person in any room. They'll call you changed. They'll say you're not the same person. They'll act wounded, confused, hurt by your transformation. What happened to you? They'll ask with fake concern, as if they weren't the architects of your destruction. You've become so cold, they'll whisper, as if their warmth wasn't a mirage designed to lure you into traps. Let them talk. Let them wonder. Let them fear what they created. Because you know something they don't. You know that every villain origin story is really a hero's awakening. Every descent into darkness is actually an ascent into truth. Every moment they thought they were breaking you, they were actually forging you into something unbreakable. They thought they were writing your ending, but they were just writing your beginning. The old you? That person who gave everyone the benefit of the doubt? Who saw the best in people, even when they showed you their worst? Who believed in second chances and third chances and infinite chances? That person served a purpose. That person taught you exactly who not to trust, exactly what not to tolerate, exactly how not to live. That person was the sacrifice necessary for this person to exist. And this person, this version of you with ice in your veins and steel in your spine, this person doesn't play games. This person owns the board. This person doesn't seek approval. This person demands respect. This person doesn't beg for a seat at the table. This person builds a better table and doesn't invite the snakes. You see the world differently now. The social hierarchies that once seemed important are revealed as playground politics. The opinions that once mattered are exposed as noise from nobodies. The standards you tried to meet are shown to be arbitrary rules made by people who couldn't meet them either. It's all a joke, and you finally get the punchline. The punchline is this: they need you more than you need them. They always did. That's why they worked so hard to keep you down. Because if you ever stood up to your full height, if you ever spoke with your full voice, if you ever moved with your full power, you'd eclipse them entirely. And they knew it. They saw your potential, and it scared them senseless. So they did what scared people always do. They attacked first, but their attacks had an unintended consequence. Every wound they inflicted made you stronger. Every betrayal they committed made you wiser. Every time they knocked you down, you studied the ground and learned its secrets. You learned how to move in darkness, how to breathe in chaos, how to thrive in conditions that would kill weaker souls. You became anti-fragile, not just surviving the damage, but being improved by it. This is the part they never counted on. They thought pain would destroy you. They were wrong. Pain became your teacher. Suffering became your trainer. Betrayal became your strategist. And loneliness? Loneliness became your laboratory where you experimented with becoming something entirely new, something they have no reference for, something their limited imaginations couldn't conceive. You spent those dark nights rebuilding yourself brick by brick, but this time, you didn't use their blueprints. You didn't follow their architecture. You designed something custom, something authentic, something that serves you and only you. No more building yourself to fit their standards. No more contorting yourself to match their expectations. No more apologizing for taking up space in your own life. The trophies you're about to collect aren't made of gold. They're made of moments. Moments when you choose yourself over their comfort. Moments when you walk away from toxicity without explanation. Moments when you succeed in ways they said were impossible. Moments when you look in the mirror and recognize the person staring back, not as a victim, but as a victor. Not as prey, but as predator. You're hunting now. Not them. That would be a waste of energy. You're hunting opportunities they said you'd never get. Hunting achievements they said weren't for people like you. Hunting peace they said you didn't deserve. Hunting happiness they said you weren't entitled to. And every single thing you catch is another trophy on your shelf. Another proof that their limitations were never yours. Another reminder that their ceilings were always just floors you used to elevate higher. The villain arc isn't about hurting others. That's amateur hour. The villain arc is about becoming so successful, so powerful, so undeniably magnificent that your mere existence disproves every lie they told about you. The best revenge isn't destruction, it's construction. Building a life so extraordinary that they can't ignore it. Creating a reality so impressive that it makes their opinions irrelevant. They'll watch from a distance as you rise. They'll see you achieving things they said were impossible for you. They'll witness your transformation from broken to unbreakable. And they'll tell themselves stories to explain it. They got lucky. They changed who they are. They sold out. Let them create whatever fiction helps them sleep at night. You know the truth. The truth is, you didn't change. You shed. You shed their expectations like dead skin. You shed their judgments like old clothes. You shed their version of you like a snake sheds a skin that no longer fits. What they see now isn't a different person. It's the real person who was always there, just buried under layers of people. Pleasing, conflict, avoiding, truth-denying, self-betraying nonsense. This version of you doesn't apologize for existing, doesn't shrink to make others comfortable, doesn't dim to avoid outshining, doesn't silence to keep peace. This version of you takes up space unapologetically, speaks truth uncomfortably, shines brightness blindingly, makes noise deafeningly, because you finally understand that your presence isn't something to be negotiated, it's something to be declared. The cold heart beats to a different rhythm now, not the frantic, anxious rhythm of someone seeking approval, not the desperate, pleading rhythm of someone begging for scraps. No. This is the steady, methodical rhythm of someone who knows exactly who they are and exactly where they're going. This is the rhythm of inevitability, of certainty, of someone who stopped asking permission and started taking what's theirs. You walk differently now. Think differently. Every movement is intentional. Every word is calculated. Every decision is strategic. You're not reacting to life anymore. You're engineering it. You're not waiting for opportunities. You're manufacturing them. You're not hoping for change. You're being the change. And the beautiful, terrible irony? The people who broke you are still the same, still playing the same games, still wearing the same masks, still living the same small lives. While you've transcended into something they can't comprehend, you've entered a dimension where their rules don't apply, where their opinions don't matter, where their presence doesn't register. They became NPCs in your story, background characters with no speaking lines, extras who don't even get credited. And that's the ultimate trophy, not needing them to understand, acknowledge, or validate anything about you. They're irrelevant. And irrelevance is a fate worse than any revenge you could have plotted. But you didn't stop at making them irrelevant. You made yourself inevitable. Inevitable success, inevitable growth, inevitable triumph. Because you learned the secret they tried to hide from you. The only person who can truly stop you is you. And you? You're done stopping yourself. You're done sabotaging yourself. You're done betraying yourself to maintain relationships with people who were betraying you all along. The tears you cried, they weren't weakness, they were currency. You paid the price of admission to this new reality. You earned your place in the arena. You bought your ticket to the show. And now it's your turn to perform. Your turn to demonstrate exactly what happens when you break someone who refuses to stay broken. Your turn to show them what they created when they thought they were destroying you. This is your villain arc, your redemption arc, your revolution arc. Whatever you want to call it doesn't matter. What matters is that you're here. You survived the unsurvivable. You endured the unendurable. You overcame the unovercomable. And now you're standing on the other side of hell, not as a victim, but as a conqueror. The world hasn't transformed, you have. The rules haven't shifted, you have. And that shift, that transformation, that evolution from who you were to who you are, that's your superpower. That's your advantage. That's your weapon. Because people who underestimated you once will underestimate you again. And you'll use that underestimation like a blade, quiet, precise, devastating. You're collecting trophies now, not physical ones. Those are for people who need external validation. Your trophies are internal. The trophy of self-respect restored. The trophy of boundaries enforced. The trophy of authenticity embraced. The trophy of power reclaimed. Each one more valuable than any praise they could have given you. Each one more meaningful than any acceptance they could have offered. They wanted you broken. You're unbreakable. They wanted you silent. You're roaring. They wanted you small. You're expanding. They wanted you gone. You're everywhere. In their thoughts, in their fears, in their nightmares about what they could have been if they hadn't wasted their energy trying to dim your light. This is what happens when you activate the cold heart. When you stop apologizing for your ambitions. When you stop explaining yourself to people who were never going to understand anyway. When you stop seeking closure from people who opened the wounds in the first place. When you stop waiting for karma and become the karma. When you stop praying for strength and become the storm. The villain arc isn't evil, it's evolution. It's the caterpillar becoming a butterfly with razor wings. It's the prey becoming the apex predator. It's the pawn becoming the queen. It's the student becoming the master of a game they didn't even know they were playing until they'd already won. And you're winning. Maybe not in ways they can see yet. Maybe not in ways that show up on social media or in casual conversation. But you're winning the war that matters. The one inside yourself. The battle between who they said you were and who you actually are. The conflict between their limitations and your potential. The struggle between their version of reality and your truth. You chose your truth. And that choice, that singular, powerful, irreversible choice to prioritize your own well-being over their comfort, that's the moment everything changed. That's the moment the cold heart activated. That's the moment the villain arc began. That's the moment you stopped dying for their applause and started living for your own peace. So here you are, standing in the aftermath of your own resurrection, surveying the landscape of your new life, feeling the weight of the armor you've forged, testing the sharpness of the weapons you've created, and realizing with absolute clarity that you're not the same person who fell. You're not even the person who crawled. You're the person who learned to fly in the dark. The trophies are stacking up. The evidence is mounting. The proof is undeniable. You're not just surviving. You're thriving. Not just existing, you're dominating. Not just participating, you're winning. And every single moment you choose yourself, every single time you enforce a boundary, every single instance you refuse to settle, that's another trophy, another victory, another middle finger to everyone who thought your story ended when theirs did. But your story? It's just beginning, this chapter. The villain arc chapter is where everything gets interesting, where you stop being predictable and start being unpredictable, where you stop being controllable and start being unstoppable, where you stop being understandable and start being undeniable. They'll try to figure you out. They'll attempt to decode your moves. They'll search for weaknesses in your armor. Let them waste their time. While they're busy analyzing, you're busy actualizing. While they're focused on your past, you're building your future. While they're stuck in their stories about who you were, you're becoming someone they couldn't imagine in their wildest dreams. The cold heart doesn't seek revenge. It doesn't need to. The cold heart doesn't hold grudges. It holds lessons. The cold heart doesn't look back. It focuses forward. Because the best way to defeat your enemies isn't by destroying them. It's by making them irrelevant through your ascension. It's by rising so high they can't even see you anymore. It's by becoming so successful that their opinions become background noise you don't even register. This is your time, your moment, your era. The universe tried to break you and instead created something magnificent, something fierce, something unstoppable. You're not the hero they wanted, you're the villain they deserved, the mirror that reflects their cruelty back at them, the consequence they never saw coming, the karma they never believed in until it showed up wearing your face. And the most beautiful part? You don't need them to acknowledge it. You don't need their apologies. You don't need their understanding. You don't need anything from them at all, because you've transcended the need for external validation. You've moved beyond the realm where their opinions matter. You've entered a space where the only approval you seek is your own. The trophies aren't for them to see. They're for you to feel. Every morning you wake up and choose yourself. Every night you go to sleep proud of who you're becoming. Every moment you stand in your power without apology. Every second you exist unapologetically as the person you were always meant to be. Those are the trophies. Those are the victories. Those are the moments that matter. So let the villain arc begin. Let the cold heart beat. Let the trophies stack. Let the transformation complete. Let the world see what happens when you stop trying to be who they wanted and start being who you are. Let them witness the resurrection. Let them experience the revolution. Let them fear the evolution. Because you're not here to play nice anymore. You're not here to make them comfortable. You're not here to fit into their boxes or meet their standards or live up to their expectations. You're here to dominate your own life, to conquer your own goals, to achieve your own dreams, to collect your own trophies. And nothing, absolutely nothing, will stop you now. If this script resonated with something deep inside you, if you felt that cold clarity washing over you, if you recognized yourself in these words, then you need to do something right this second. You need to smash that like button like it's every person who ever doubted you. Destroy it. Obliterate it. Show the algorithm that this message matters. Drop a comment below and tell me your story. What was the moment everything changed for you? What was the betrayal that activated your cold heart? What trophy are you about to collect? I want to hear it. No, I need to hear it. Because your story might be the one that saves someone else who's reading this right now, thinking they're alone in their transformation. And here's the most important part. Hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. Not because I need the numbers, but because you need the reminders. You need these messages hitting your feed when doubt creeps in. You need this voice in your ear when the old you tries to resurface. You need this community of people who understand what it means to rise from ashes they weren't supposed to survive. Share this video with someone who needs to hear it. That friend who's going through their own villain arc. That family member who's tired of being the victim. That stranger on the internet who's questioning whether they'll ever be okay again. Be the catalyst for someone else's awakening. Be the spark that ignites their transformation. The cold heart isn't a destination, it's a journey. And this community? We're walking that path together. We're collecting trophies together. We're building empires together. We're proving everyone wrong together. So activate that cold heart, collect those trophies, begin that villain arc, and never, ever apologize for becoming the person they forced you to become. Because that person is unstoppable. Welcome to your resurrection. Welcome to your revolution. Welcome to the rest of your life. Now go out there and make them regret ever thinking you'd stay down.